A budget camera brawl. The two top camera manufacturers having their budget options duke it out to see which one is best. The Canon M100 versus the Sony A5100. Which one is best? Let's find out. What's up everyone, I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. So I'm on a never-ending quest to find the best budget cameras out there for those that want to upgrade their online content, but don't want their pants pulled down about the price. And today that quest brings me to smashing these two cameras against each other until one comes out on top. But before we start the smashing, let's cover the basic specs of both cameras to get us all on the same page. And again, disclaimer, I only make home videos and YouTube videos, so those are the specs that I'll be covering. The M100 is an M-mount mirrorless camera from mirror-addicted Canon. It has a 24.2 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. It has Canon's Digix 7 image processor. It has a flip-up articulating touchscreen on the back, and it can record 1080p video in up to 60 frames per second. But the big one is, it has Canon's blazing fast dual-pixel autofocus, which is really one of the best parts about the setup. The A5100, on the other hand, is an E-mount mirrorless camera from the mirror world destroying monster Sony. It's almost poetic to have these two square off. The A5100 has a 24.3 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. It also has a touchscreen flip-up LCD and can also record in 1080p up to 60 frames per second. It does not have dual pixel autofocus, but it does have phase detection autofocus with 179 phase detection points on the sensor itself, which is also pretty good. Whew, now, no kidding, hyperbole aside, these are both some stacked specs on each of these cameras. For the price, you get an awful lot, and that's what really attracted me to both cameras to begin with, and that's why I'm making a video about it. There's other cameras I can make videos about. I really like what both of these have. Physically, the Canon M100 feels pretty good, but like I mentioned in the Monday video, it doesn't have a hand grip, just a matte finish, which I don't really like as much. The A5100, on the other hand, does have a little hand grip on it, which I think makes it the more comfortable camera to hold. I mean, it is way more comfortable to hold the A5100 because you can actually hold on to a hand grip. Both do feel decently high quality for the price. Neither really feels like a cheapo camera, or that the structure of the camera itself was compromised to meet the low price point. They definitely feel like they punch above their weight, structurally. Cameras have structures. Now, I personally think the A5100 feels better than the M100, but again, that's more of a personal preference about the hand grip than anything else. They both feel high quality, but if you like a hand grip, you gotta go with the A5100. So now it's time to put these little guys head to head in a few separate categories that I think makes or breaks a camera for online content creation. If this is your first time here, I'm about to drop a controversy bomb right now. Imagine this camera's a controversy bomb. It's been dropped. Are you ready? I don't really care that much about image quality. I mean, yeah, it's important, but it's not the most important. Go ahead, we'll take a second for you to leave your angry comments. Okay, now that that's out of our system, let's begin the comparison. First up, let's talk about fiddliness. Well, what is fiddliness? Well, fiddliness is a dreaded tech disease that afflicts everything from smartphones to computers, cameras to, I guess, Amazon microwaves? Those are a thing now? Fiddliness in this context, however, is how much messing with the camera do I have to do to hit record and upload my content. More fiddliness, obviously, is a bad thing, and unfortunately, higher-end cameras are starting to creep up into the red of fiddliness, like the A7 III over here. Hopefully it doesn't turn terminal. But on the positive side, little cameras like these score very low in the fiddly department, which is good. Low equals good. Hooray! The one fault that both of these cameras do have is that neither has an audio in jack. So if you want to get good high quality audio, you'll have to record it off camera. Now we'll do this here in a little bit, and for me, it's not that big of a deal breaker. Two clicks and it's synced for me in post anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But the M100 absolutely destroys the A5100 in this category. It's not even close. Both cameras suffer from a lack of physical buttons and dials to change camera settings, whether that's aperture, shutter speed, ISO, etc. You can do it from the body, but it takes extra steps, and I don't like having to work through menu systems, with buttons to get to things I need to change. Where the M100 really shines is you can sidestep this entire body of the camera if you want to. The touchscreen on the back not only does focus pulling, but can change all of the camera settings. This is such a big deal. Not only does it make the camera extremely easy to use, but it also gives the ability to do something that my regular cameras can't, and that's change the settings without going behind the camera. Even the GH5 right now, I would have to get up and go around the camera to change the settings because I'm using a monitor instead because the flippy screen is really small. But I would have to get up, go around, change the settings, come back. I mention this a lot, but it's so much of a pain. That's why I say it so much, because it really irritates me. And that's why I know it seems like it's not a big deal if you use budget cameras or if you use your cell phone to have all those touches. But when you start getting into bigger cameras, it's a really big frustration. It wastes a lot of time. So that's why I harp on how big of a deal this is. Not only that, but the dual pixel autofocus inside of the M100 is class leading and means that you don't have to fiddle with the camera that much at all. And I mean, if you have your preferred settings dial in, all you have to do is turn it on, hit record, and go. The autofocus will work and you can change whatever settings you need from it. It's incredible. The A5100 does take a little more massaging to get working, but it also has fantastic autofocus. And if you have the settings preset, it too can be a quick process to start getting footage. Not nearly as useful because the touchscreen only does focus, it doesn't change settings. So the M100 easily wins this round. Next up in the clash of the cameras, ecosystem. You know, the body of the camera is actually one of the least important parts. Lenses, accessories, cages, all of those are way more important to get better image quality than almost anything the camera body itself can do. And this category swings the other way from Canon to Sony. This really boils down to one thing: Canon EF-M versus Sony E-mount. The Sony E-mount line of lenses are some of the best lenses on the market. Some of them can be pricey and very big. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm moving away from Sony full frame, but they are designed to work very well within the Sony ecosystem, and you can get some wonderful results from them. There are some killer third-party Sigma lenses for Sony E-mount. The EF-M lines is very anemic in comparison. And yes, I know you can get the EF to EF-M adapter. I actually have one back there, and I mentioned this in Monday's video, but to keep the prices similar across both cameras, I'm considering the $200 adapter a negative. Though if, like me, you already have the adapter, Canon has one of the, if not the largest lens selections on the planet. There is a reason that most video people continuously try to adapt Canon lenses to, you know, their GH5, their Fuji, and their Sony cameras. Canon lenses are some of the best. So ecosystem for me goes to the Sony. And last but actually least in my book, image quality. I mentioned this earlier, but both cameras have my favorite size of sensor, APS-C. Now, Sony's APS-C is slightly larger than Canon's, but this has a very negligible difference in the image quality. They're both very close. And they do both have very good image quality. Both cameras can record in up to 1080p, 60 frames per second, and here's where there is a little bit of separation when it comes to the two cameras. The M100 has a record limit of 10 minutes when it comes to 60 frames per second. That's 1080p and 720p. One of the trade-offs in getting big sensors in tiny body cameras like these is there just isn't the space to dissipate all the heat. So Canon's solution is to limit the amount of heat generated by forcing you to take breaks. The A5100, on the other hand, will record up to a maximum limit of 30 minutes, but if you do this more than once, it will absolutely overheat. So it's really a trade-off of the two. Would you rather have it overheat and get a little bit longer, or do you want the camera to kind of manage the heat for you? I mean, for image quality itself, I think both are pretty close, and it's gonna come down again to your personal preference. But let's check out how they do in a studio setting here real quick. Whoosh, whoo, okay. And here we are in the studio with both cameras. Now, we're gonna do a little bit of a test a little bit differently this time. So the audio you're currently hearing is being recorded off camera with the Zoom H1n. I want to hear how you can get good audio out of both of these cameras, even though they don't have an audio in jack. However, this is the audio and the video out of the Sony A5100 without the Zoom. Audio test 1, 2, 3, audio test 1, 2, 3. And this is the audio and the image out of the Canon M100. Audio test 1, 2, 3, audio test 1, 2, 3. Now, obviously, okay, back to the Zoom. This is way better because it's a boom microphone. It sounds way better. The preamps and it's just better. This is really kind of a low light test because I like a more dynamic look in my video, so I keep it as low light as possible. But what I found, and obviously I haven't reviewed the footage yet, but generally the Sony cameras do much, much better in low light than the Canon cameras do. I mean, that's just, I don't know, they're the same size sensors, but everything's the same setting. This is at f4, this is at f4, this is at 400 ISO, this is at 400 ISO. Everything's the same. They're both with kit lens, so there shouldn't be that big of a difference, but I generally find Sony cameras do better in low light than Canon cameras. So if you're doing a lot of low light, you may swing that way, but if you're doing a lot of outdoor stuff, I don't really see that big of a difference. Okay, back to the video. So what, right? So which of these cameras wins the title best in class? Well, and longtime viewers know me as a bit of a waffler, but I think it depends. I swear I was planning on making a definitive statement, but after trying them both out, I can't. It really comes down to a couple of personal choices. Do you like easy to use, or do you like the better ecosystem? Now, I think the Canon is way easier to use. Having the dual pixel autofocus and that killer touchscreen make it one of the easiest cameras to use on the market today, at any price level. But I really like some of the third-party Sony lenses, and you don't have to adapt them to work with the small-bodied A5100, so you're not losing a lot in the size department. I mean, it's really a toss-up, but the good news is neither is a bad choice. So if you do go out and get either one, you haven't wasted your money, which is an awesome thing. Thanks for watching.